Hello and welcome to the Islamic Finance Weekly. The African Continental Free Trade Area, based on its agreement, is expected to cover a market of 1.2 billion Africans with a combined GDP of $2.5 trillion. Nigeria, the largest economy and population in Africa with more than $500 billion in GDP, became the 34th African country to fully ratify and submit its Instrument of Ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The recently concluded second Intra African Trade Fair generated a record $42.1 billion in trade and trade-related investment deals, according to the latest released by the IATF Advisory Council. Today we will discuss continental trade and investment championing Islamic finance for Africa. This edition features a presentation and interview with Francis Zanatogo, the Secretary National Action Committee on the AfCFTA. Looking at the continental trade and investment, Francis Zanatogo highlighted the opportunities and what it will take to successfully implement the trade agreement for the benefit of Nigerians.
And what the AfCFTA agreement seeks to do is try to reduce the barriers. So try as much as possible to make export from Nigeria or trade between Nigeria and other African countries as seamless as trading between states. How? First, with the elimination of import duties from 90% of tradable items. The second is promotion of local content. So every product that we say is made in Africa must have a specific a minimum amount of local content in it. The third element is about harmonization of standards and recognition of mutual recognition agreements. So trade services around certificates, around degrees, and other mutual agreements to, again, make it easier for us to trade. Now, there's a lot to say about that, but let me quickly talk about what this means for us. Why AfCFTA and why now? Just look at how much the Naira has valued over the past 5 years. It affects every one of us. By exporting, you're hedging your risk against the currency devaluation. The second reason is that African market is too big. It's very big. 1.2 billion people, $3.4 trillion economy. If you now think about it, we're talking about finance. The question is, where are the opportunities? Where are the barriers? From our standpoint, our international community, we look at what will it take to successfully implement this agreement for Nigeria. What are we trying? What is our objective? Our objective is export participation, growing our exports to Africa. And when we look at it, we're talking about non-oil exports. So every state in Nigeria has opportunity to export and become economically viable. So when you're thinking of opportunities, think across federal and state. That's one point to take away. The second point to take away is that for us to be successful, we need to produce what we're going to export. So not only do we need to do that, even how we do that is very, very important. And we can't do it alone. So we need to come together. It's about clustering, it's about developing ecosystems. That is the only way, or that is one way that we can try to create scale. It's about growth and scale. The second point is about productivity. If we want to be competitive in the African market, we need to grow our productivity. Our productivity in terms of the skills of our people and among others. The third one is about enabling the environment, ease of doing business. And one key way is about automating administrative processes. The second one is about policies, regulation, updating our policies and making them export friendly, but opportunity in technology. The other one is infrastructure, that is the topic of today. But when we think about infrastructure, first of all, think about the production facilities, think about warehouses, but think about the logistics infrastructure, think about the roads, think about the power. When we think power, yes, we have the massive power program. But if you think about SMEs don't need 2 megawatts of power. Renewables is an option. If we move to the other thing, the other area is about actually we are a big market promoting what we produce. We account for 12% of Africa's imports. That is huge. For our people to be able to export, we first of all need to maintain our market share. They need our production, they need our patronage to be able to reduce their unit cost competitive in the African market. The last part is a lot more around the government area, which is around, there's another one, market access. Market access is actually the partnership that we talked about now. You need to get your products to the market, or you need partnerships in those markets to push your product to the final consumer. You need to have brands. So at the national level, at the state level, at the federal level, we need to say this is what we stand for. And again, these are opportunities that as financiers, we must support the real sector every inch of the way. We are going to be successful. And what we've heard earlier today, we know so good works. We know from what Royal Highness said earlier, we can use Islamic finance for education. So the second whole thing is about options. So there's a lot that we can do in this area. The last part on our end is implementing the letters of the agreement. And this is around providing the institutions to make sure that the agreement works. It's about things like the Trade Remedies Authority. It is around early warning systems that will let us know when some predatory trade practices are happening. It's about customs operation so that when our goods get to the destination, we get free passes. Thank you very much.
I also had the opportunity of interviewing him on leveraging Islamic finance with the AfCFTA, the right ecosystem for Islamic finance to thrive in Nigeria, and the outlook for the non-interest market. Watch the interview.
You spoke about AfCFTA. So Africa has been the talking point in terms of financing Ghana for some time. How do you think Nigeria should leverage in AfCFTA concerning the role of Islamic finance?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier during my panel discussion, essentially, first is understand what we're trying to achieve with the AfCFTA, which is to grow our export, grow our non-oil exports. In fact, both oil and non-oil export, because there are opportunities in both areas. Now, to do that, we need to produce what we're going to sell or to export. And that means we need to get investments. And that's where financing comes in. There are various players, the small, medium enterprises, and also the big companies. They all need finance. The second is improving our productivity. So again, improving our productivity requires us to grow capacity, our human capacity, improve our processes, improve our compliance to standards, our certification, and all of that. So again, there are businesses that can help companies in these areas. The third part is improving our business environment. And while that is government, largely, it will require us automating our administrative processes, this is where technology comes in. It will require us to improve our interaction with the public, right? If you have questions, if you have issues, you need to be able to reach out to your regulator, your policy makers, and so on. So having that kind of contact centers would also are areas of opportunities. The fourth one is infrastructure, which is again about the topic of today. And when I think of infrastructure and AfCFTA, I think that we should focus not only on what we invest in, but how we invest. So the opportunity really, or the objective is growing our scale. Everywhere we've looked at, there are people doing things, but at a micro level. To export, we need to grow our scale. That is what to bring down our unit cost of production. And that then means that we need to adopt an ecosystem model. We need to produce in clusters. We need to collaborate so that it is not too difficult for us. When you are producing and processing and transporting all by yourself, it requires a lot of capital. But if we collaborate, one person will be doing the production, the processing, a different person processing, and so on. So again, by doing that, we are able to focus. We will be better in a narrow area, and we have more people. So that's all about the ecosystem. Yeah. But when you think about it as well, think about providing power. Think about providing logistics facilities like warehouses. So you don't need to build your own warehouse. You don't need to build your own facility, really. Someone builds a facility, others use it. Just take what you need. So there are opportunities in that area as well. And then the other area is actually in marketing and distribution, both locally and in the African market. And at every point in this value chain, there are opportunities. So the idea is that with Islamic finance, you can, just like other classes of finance, you can actually get down to, you have products for SMEs, you have products for bigger companies, and hopefully we are able to now get real down to individuals and cottage small-scale producers, especially in the agricultural area.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective with us. So some experts believe Islamic finance, the non-interest finance market as it's being called in Nigeria, will not thrive unless there is the right ecosystem and the right regulatory environment. How do you think the non-interest finance operators, the regulators like CBN, NICOM, pension, and non-interest finance institutions and other government bodies should support and curb these challenges?
In the course of implementing the AfCFTA, some things have become very apparent to me. Because it's the same thing people ask me, how do I think Nigeria will take advantage of the AfCFTA? And one critical gap that we have is awareness. People need to know about it. People need to separate the facts from the myth. People even need to know that those products exist. It's only when they know that they exist that they can then make choices for themselves. They can then do their own research. And when we start there and we start getting people taking advantage of it, then it becomes referral. When you have successes, those successes will then, people will now start talking about it, and then they'll start promoting it, and others will take advantage of it.
Awareness
Awareness is super critical. And the regulatory environment is required because it provides the rules around what. But as we speak today, the non-interest-bearing instruments are already there. So even if we start working on what we have and build the awareness, I think it will go a long way. And the key point as well is creating that awareness that the non-interest bearing is not just for Muslims, it's for everybody. When people have access to information,
when they have access and they are informed.
Then they will make choices based on their individual
awareness
or
and
corporate
education.
Circumstances.
Thank you. So, what would be the outlook for the non-interest finance market in 2022?
So, it depends on how much awareness we create. Now, with AfCFTA, the message, we're taking the message down to the states and grassroots that everybody needs to start thinking of what to export, produce and export. And then the operators need to join in that and say, okay, we are here to give you this finance. So the operators need to understand AfCFTA. They need to understand where their products fit. They need to then also take steps. For us to be successful, the operators need to actually take steps and go to the businesses and help them and hold them to access the finance. Obviously, that means that they need to help them to meet all the risk management requirements. So, and if we do this, I think I would say 2022 is a bit short term. But the important thing is that if we do this, we'll start to see this tick up.
The strategic objective of Nigeria's participation in the AfCFTA is to capture 10% of Africa's imports, as well as double the country's export revenues by 2025. The adoption of Islamic Trade Finance will go a long way in supporting these ambitious goals. This is to inform our viewers that the Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals Nigeria will host its 2021 Annual Stakeholders Conference on December 15th and 16th in Lagos. It will discuss the theme, Weathering the Storms in the Financial Ecosystem, the cutting edge of Islamic finance. The conference will have in attendance the special guest of honor, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria. Keynote speaker, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning. Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundupe, Vice Chancellor, University of Lagos. Dr. Oluremi Nuruddin Olaleye, Director of Lagos State Polytechnic, and other dignitaries in the non-interest finance industry. To participate in this event, register via the link displaying on your screen. And that will be all for this edition. For more updates on Islamic finance, visit www.proshareng.com. Also, follow us on our social media platform displaying on the screen. Many thanks for watching. See you next week Friday.
The Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, IIFP, under the chairmanship of Associate Professor Tajuddin Olalikon Yusuf, invites scholars, practitioners, policymakers, researchers, professional bodies, regulatory agencies, and the general public to its annual Stakeholders Conference and Members Induction Ceremony. The theme of this year's conference is Weathering the Storms in the Financial Ecosystem, the Cutting Edge of Islamic Finance, with over 20 prominent speakers representing 15 Islamic financial institutions, private and public representatives, and Islamic finance stakeholders. The two-day conference promises to chart a new path for the Islamic finance industry in Nigeria. This year's conference shall hold between the 15th and 16th of December 2021 at the Afe Babalola Auditorium, University of Lagos, Akoka, Yaba. The chief host for the event is Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, the Vice Chancellor, University of Lagos. The keynote address speaker for the Stakeholders Conference shall be the Honorable Minister for Finance Finance, Budget and National Planning, Honorable Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. The keynote address speaker for the members' induction ceremony shall be the Rector, Lagos State Polytechnic, Dr. Oluremi Nuruddin Olaliye. For more information about sponsorship and participation, contact Mansour 0803-445-9801, Tumishe 0803-580-3197, Wasilat 0813-250-1405. To register, kindly visit conference.iifpnigeria.org. Website www.iifpnigeria.org. Email conference@iifpnigeria.org. The IIFP's annual Stakeholders Conference and Members Induction Ceremony promises to be highly interactive, enlightening, and preferring cutting-edge solutions to the problems of the Islamic finance industry in Nigeria. Be a part of the discussion. Be a part of the future.